Burutu wasn't a place people remembered. It was a forgotten that in the Delta muddy roads, broken boats, creaky wooden shacks, and rivers that swallowed both dreams and bodies. The sky always seemed gray, like even the sun didn't want to shine too hard on the town. This was where Osaretin Oki was born, during a thunderstorm that ripped the roof off his mother's house. They said it was a bad omen. Maybe they were right. Osaretin never met his father. He drowned during a night fishing trip when Osaretin was just 6 months old. His mother, Mama Ebafini, raised him and his younger sister, Idohan, with salt, tears, and stubborn pride. She smoked fish by the riverbank daily, her fingers blackened by fire, her eyes tired from bargaining with men who spoke to her with insult rather than money. But she was proud. "We no go beg," she used to tell Osaretin. "We go survive. That's enough." But for Osaretin, survival was never enough. By the time he turned 12, he had already started running errands for smugglers, delivering small brown envelopes across the river, pretending it was just fish money. He saw the men in flashy shirts, gold chains, and air-conditioned boats. He watched them arrive at the jetty with noise and leave with women. He envied their power. And beneath that envy, a dangerous hunger was growing. One night, his mother found a roll of crumpled naira under his pillow, more than she made in 3 weeks. She slapped him so hard he couldn't eat solid food for a day. "This money get blood," she screamed, tears in her voice. "You want to end up like your Uncle Timmy Way Dem Kill for oil theft?" Osaretin said nothing. But deep down, he didn't fear death. He feared poverty more. Years passed, but Burutu didn't change. The roads remained broken, the electricity danced like a joke, and the river still carried the smell of diesel and dead dreams. Osaretin grew leaner, stronger, quieter. He was the boy people respected, but didn't understand. He didn't waste time at football matches or argue over local politics. He listened, learned, and plotted. He knew the river like his own heartbeat, and he knew every man who made money without using God's name. At 19, he began working with Keem Two-Face, a smuggler who trafficked fuel and counterfeit dollars. Keem was cruel but smart. He wanted naira notes inside hollowed-out dried fish and shipped them across 3 states. He saw promise in Osaretin. "You get mine, boy," he said one night, pouring palm wine into 2 glasses. "But mine without muscle, no fit build empire. You ready to see blood?" Osaretin nodded. He didn't blink. That was the night Osaretin watched a man get beaten for stealing from a drop-off. The screams were loud, but what haunted Osaretin was the silence, afterward the eerie calm, when the man stopped moving and was dumped into the mangrove like rubbish. It changed him. He didn't cry. He didn't flinch. He learned that in their world, fear was a language and silence was currency. That night, something inside him hardened. By 22, Osaretin had saved enough to buy a swampy piece of land between Bomadi and Bekabor. Everyone thought he was crazy. The land was good for nothing but mosquitoes and spirits. But he had a vision and idea whispered to him years ago in a smoky bar. Crocodile farming. At least, that was the story. Officially, he registered it as Delta Reptile Ventures Limited, with a flashy logo, a website, and even a small office in Warri. But what he built was no farm. It was a fortress secluded, fenced, and guarded like a militant camp. He began importing crocodiles from neighboring states. Not too many at first, just enough to look believable. He hired ex-soldiers as security, bribed local chiefs with monthly envelopes, and sent small bags of rice to churches during Christmas. People whispered about the young man from Burutu with money too clean to be clean, but no one challenged him. The farm became a mystery. No one was allowed inside without clearance. Journalists who came snooping were invited to drink palm wine, shown a few crocodiles, and sent away with transport money. Behind closed doors, the operation was genius. He partnered with a cartel contact from Benin City who supplied the cocaine. It came sealed, compressed, and shaped into tiny capsules. These capsules were inserted into frozen fish, which were then fed to the crocodiles. The reptiles swallowed them whole. The shipments went out in boats labeled as exotic reptile transfers. Nobody dared open a crocodile's belly during inspection. The money started flowing in, like floodwater, like prophecy. He bought houses in Port Harcourt and Asaba, wore silk shirts, drove G-Wagons, and started dating actresses. But what scared people was not his money. It was how quickly he forgot where he came from. He didn't return to Burutu anymore. He stopped picking his mother's calls. When Ito Han, his sister, came to ask for help with university fees, he gave her money, but with dead eyes. "Don't come again," he said, handing her the envelope. "Use this and focus." "I'm busy." Mama Ebafini cried for weeks. "This no be my son," she said. "This be demon in fine clothes." But Osaretin didn't care. He had seen both sides of life, and he chose power. What he didn't know was that power without loyalty builds a house with cracks, and betrayal had already entered through the back door. Amin was not just any worker. He had been with Osaretin from the beginning, when the land was still mud and snakes. A former boatman, Amin was the one who helped secure safe passage across rivers, the one who introduced Osaretin to the elders in Bekabor. He never asked for much, just loyalty, steady pay, and a seat at the table. But Osaretin changed. The more money he made, the less he saw those who helped him rise. One hot afternoon, Amin walked into the compound after weeks of radio silence. He had just helped deliver a risky shipment and expected appreciation. Instead, he was stopped at the gate by two young, gun-wielding security men in black. "Oga say you no good appointment," they said. Amin laughed bitterly. "Appointment ko? Nami helping a Oga dig foundation o." Osaretin finally came out after 3 hours. He stood on the balcony, wearing sunglasses, sipping iced whiskey. "Amin," he said coldly, "you day act like say we still day hustle together. Things don't change. You know fit waka in here anyhow again." Amin felt his chest tighten. After everything, he whispered, "You forget say I get your secrets?" Osaretin's face hardened. "Then keep them. But no mistake yourself. If you talk too much, nobody go find your body inside this delta." It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. That night, Amin didn't sleep. He drank palm wine alone by the river, staring at the dark water. He remembered the boy he once protected, the hungry dreamer who spoke about building something different. Now that boy was gone, replaced by a monster in designer shoes. Revenge was planted in his heart that night, not out of greed, but out of betrayal. And when the NDLEA officer asked, "Do you have proof?" Amin smiled slowly and said, "I don't need proof. I'll take you to the belly of the beast." It was just after 3 a.m. on a humid Tuesday when the NDLEA struck. 30 agents in full black gear, armed with tranquilizer rifles, torches, and silent radios surrounded Delta Reptile Ventures. Osaretin had no clue. He was asleep in his Port Harcourt mansion, dreaming of expanding the business to Ghana. Amin, sitting silently in one of the surveillance boats, clenched his jaw. He didn't speak. He only watched, heart pounding, as the men began crawling through the swampy path like shadows. Inside the compound, guards were asleep or drunk. The operation had grown complacent, just like Osaretin. Within minutes, 2 crocodiles were sedated and pulled into a large holding pen. There, before the hidden cameras, the agents cut one open under cold lights. And there was white packets, vacuum-sealed, intact. Cocaine, hidden in the beast's gut. One officer whispered, "This boy's mad smart." But the leader, a woman named Officer Bisola, simply said, "He's not smart. He's just used to not being caught." The footage went viral the same day. Nigeria's Crocodile King arrested, the headline screamed. Osaretin tried to flee that morning, but the roads were blocked. His phones are dead. His workers were gone. The Crocodile farm was sealed, his accounts frozen, his friends vanished like mist. Even the woman he'd planned to marry deleted all their pictures. By nightfall, he was hiding in a guest house in Calabar, sweating, alone, whispering to himself, "This can't be happening." But it was. The life he built on fear and secrets was falling apart, brick by brick. He didn't cry when the NDLEA arrested him. He didn't scream when they paraded him on national TV in handcuffs, his once clean shirt stained with sweat. But when he saw his mother's face on the news, sitting outside her tiny home in Burutu, shaking her head with tears running silently, that was when Osaretin's spirit cracked. He mouthed the words only he could hear. Mama warned me. Prison is quiet in the worst way. Gone were the sounds of riverboats, crocodiles splashing, and champagne corks popping. Now, Osaretin heard only keys jangling, metal doors clanking, and men coughing in the dark. He wasn't in a VIP cell. He wasn't protected. His money couldn't buy favors anymore. He was just another number in a dusty file, rotting slowly in a cell that stank of sweat and regret. At first, he fought the sentence. His lawyers tried to appeal, but there was no loophole, no technicality to save him. Too many people wanted him to fall. Judges, politicians, even former partners. They all wanted to watch the Crocodile King drown in his own swamp. He was sentenced to 35 years without parole. In prison, nobody cared that he once had mansions. Nobody respected his past. Instead, inmates mocked him. "Oga cocaine, you no get mouth again." And Osaretin would just stare blankly, as if watching someone else's life unfold. The only thing he did religiously was write letters, to his sister, to his mother, to himself. None were answered. But what truly broke him was when he heard that Amin, the man he'd cast aside, had become a preacher. Amin now toured youth centers in Wari and Sapil, warning young boys. "I knew a man who fed crocodiles with cocaine. He had everything, but he had no peace." His story spread. The newspapers called it a Nigerian narcos with a reptile twist. The nickname stuck. Crocodile Blood. In the final days of his 20s, Osaretin began to change. Slowly, painfully. He stopped chasing appeal trials. He stopped trying to be remembered as a king. He just cleaned floors, wrote in his notebook, and stared through the cell bars every evening at the fading sun. "If I get out," he wrote one night, "I will build something with my hands. Not with blood, not with greed." But the world had moved on. His mansions were auctioned. His cars were seized. His name became a warning. And far away in Burutu, his mother prayed for him in silence. Not for freedom, but for forgiveness. Because in the end, Osaretin Oki had chased the world and lost himself. He built his empire on crocodiles, but forgot they bite even their own. And when the last crocodile turned, there was no one left to save him.